Okay, good morning, everyone. Thanks for attending this webinar this morning. We'll make a start in a minute, just wait for a few more people to show up. But we're going to talk about occupational health and safety. So we're going to be looking at it from a management point of view and implementing policies and procedures consistent with the Occupational Health and Safety Management System Standard, ISO 45001. So let's make a start. So occupational health and safety, we're going to be talking about today. The common usage in Australia now is workplace safety and health. Workplace health and safety. But the international standard 45001 refers to it as occupational health and safety management. These are international standards. So that's the terminology that I'm using for the purpose of today. But workplace health and safety is the legislation that's applicable across Australia now. So a bit about me. I've been a business station advisor since 2014. I provide a range of business management services to organisations of all sizes. In particular, relating to this, I'm a qualified auditor of safety management systems and help businesses implement safety and health management systems and policies and procedures and the like, and help them get certified to the ISO standard. So Business Station provides a range of services to small and medium businesses under 20 employees. So take advantage of the services that we provide. And this is funded through the Australian Small Business Advisory Service Digital Solutions Program. So again, support for small business out in the community, funded by the federal government. So looking at ISO 45001, occupational health and safety management systems. We're going to be, this slide here is looking at, why should you have a safety and health management system? Well, the minute you bring on employers or contractors into your workplace, then there's a legislative requirement for you to have safety and health policies and procedures and standards in place to you to manage a safe work environment. It's obviously aimed at preventing work-related injury, preventing ill health, and the focus is safety, but also on the health of your employees. And you need to continually improve your performance and similarly the legislative compliance that comes with that, quite comprehensive safety legislation that you have to comply with. You need to identify what your safety risks are and manage those accordingly. And I think also, given that I do a bit of work in the tender space, most tenders have questions now around your safety management systems. I've just helped a business with a tender for a local government. There was quite a comprehensive safety and health questionnaire associated with that. Do you have a policy for this? Do you have a procedure for that? And if they didn't have those things, then their tender would be non-compliant with the requirements. So very important from a compliance point of view, important from a comfort, giving comfort to your employees that you operate a safe work environment, prospective employees, but also for business development as well. Depending on the size of your business, obviously will determine the complexity of your system. When we talk policies and procedures, we're not talking voluminous documents. It really depends on the size, location, culture, and legal environment in which you operate. That's the organisational context, the scope of the system, looking at the level of application, the type of business that you're in, the industry that you're in, and the extent of your compliance obligations as well. So these are the things that determine the scale and complexity of your management system. It's based on the plan, do, check, act cycle. So you need to plan your system, so determine your hazards, risks and opportunities. You need to implement policies and procedures, develop and implement them. You need to monitor and measure the activities and processes. So, honestly, you constantly check to make sure that the procedures are being implemented. There's proper record keeping around the implementation and that they're actually working effectively. And you need to look at continuous improvement to achieve the outcomes. So, making sure things are happening, but also that there is improvement in the system over time, particularly as you grow your business. So that's the sort of diagram there that shows, the components of the various, plan, do, check, act cycle. So that's quite a useful diagram to get an understanding as to what is required as part of this. So the standard, you can purchase a copy of this through Standards Australia, and SAI Global is the main body that manages that. So you can purchase this, as I said. It has the standard, but also some guidance notes on how to implement the standard as well. The first 3 sections of the standard are really the introductory statements, what the standard is, how to apply it, the terms and definitions used throughout the standard, and then the sections 4 to 10 are the requirements. So this is the doing part. This is what you're going to be assessed on in terms of if you're looking to get your ISO certification for safety. You're going to be assessed on your understanding, your policies, procedures, your planning, your doing of these sections of the standard, which we're going to go through. So the requirements, which are that sections 4 to 10. So the first part is the organisational context. So looking at the internal and external factors and the role of interested parties in determining the extent of your system. So you need to understand that environment in which you operate, internal and external environment. You need to get an understanding of the needs and expectations of your employees. Interested parties are suppliers, contractors, customers, and any other organisation or person that you may deal with in your business. You need to determine the scope of the system. So, if you have multiple sites, is it only going to apply to one site or all of it? And then you need to implement, maintain, and continuously improve the standards and the policies, procedures, and work instructions that you may very well put in place. So looking at the context of the organisation, if we look at external issues, so, the political, economic, social, technological environment and legal environment that you operate within, the financial impact on the market, and your competitors, new and existing, knowledge on products, key business market drivers, external relationships, and obviously keeping an eye on any changes to any of those. So it's basically the external environment in which your business operates and the impact that has on the operation of your business. And with the internal environment, it's how you run your business and the issues involved. So governance, risk, policies and procedures, resources, information, new products and services, their relationship with your staff, their working hours, their conditions, and again, keeping an eye on any changes to those. So the next one is leadership and worker participation. So their standard uses the term worker throughout. So, and it's a combination of management showing leadership in their commitment to having a safe work environment and the policies and procedures that they set up to do that. It's identifying the roles and responsibilities and authorities that are assigned to each position within the organisation and how these are communicated. So, in job descriptions, you might have a reference to a person's role or a position's role in safety management, and you need to ensure that there are structures in place to have worker participation and consultation. So, depending on the size of your business, setting up, a workplace health and safety committee toolbox meetings, regular staff meetings, newsletters, a notice board, anything that encourages consultation with your employees, but also their participation in ensuring a safe working environment as well. So as part of this, you need to adopt a policy, generally a one-page statement of intent, which is what you're going to achieve from a safety point of view. You need to, it's also used for setting the objectives, which we'll talk about, but the policy needs to have a commitment to providing a safe and healthy work environment, fulfilling your compliance obligations, eliminating hazards, reducing risks, a commitment to continuous improvement, and consultation and participation of your employees. You've got to document that. You've got to communicate it to relevant and to interested parties, and it's got to be relevant and appropriate to your business. So, and then once you've agreed on the policy, then you need to go about putting in place the plans for managing safety. So, hazard identification, assessment of risks and opportunities, OHS risks and the like. You need to look at what your legal environment is, your compliance obligations, document that in a register, and how you intend to comply with it. You need to look at any other requirements you've got to comply with, such as contracts. The contracts that you enter into may require you to have certain safety requirements as well. So, and then you need to put in place the procedures to address risks, fulfill legal obligations, respond to any emergencies. So you might need to have an emergency response plan. You need to integrate this into other business processes, and you need to constantly evaluate the effectiveness of the procedures and the actions put in place to manage safety in the workplace. You need to set objectives. So, what you want to achieve with safety, obviously things like, zero lost injury time and the like. So they've got to be consistent with the policy. Include both quantitative and qualitative measures, also lead and lag measures as well. Obviously applicable to your business. You need to monitor them, communicate them, and update them required. So perhaps, every quarter your management team reviews safety statistics. Annually, you report on them in your annual reports, or report on them in toolbox meetings or whatever. And, every year set objectives for the forthcoming year. So they need to be SMART, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-framed. So over the course of the next 12 months, we're going to achieve this, that, and the other type thing, and make sure that they're realistic measures too, but also a bit of, stretch in them to ensure achievement. Support. So determine and provide the resources to implement it. So, the resources could be people, equipment, PPE, the like. Determine the competency of your employees. So you might set up a training matrix, identify gaps in worker understanding of OHS requirements, ensure that they're made aware of the management system. So as part of your induction process for new employees, for example, they might have a safety induction, and, regular reinforcement and toolbox meetings, performance appraisal meetings and the like. And communicate it internally and externally. So you might have your policy on your website, but, through notice boards, newsletters, toolbox meetings, other staff meetings, just communicate the requirements of safety in the organisation. So in terms of support, you've got to maintain documented information. So you've got to have documented policies, procedures, work instructions, and as part of that, develop some templates and forms to assist in implementation, because an auditor, if you're looking to seek ISO certification, an auditor is looking to see if you've actually got the policies and procedures in place. Those documents are consistent with the standard, but they're also going to want to see evidence of implementation. So if you can develop some tools, templates and forms to help with that, then that'll, and maintain good record keeping, then that will assist in the audit of your system. So document control, identification, formatting, review and approval mechanisms so that the auditor and your employees can be sure that they're using the latest version or the most current version of your documentation. So look at things like distribution, access, retrieval and use, storage, control of any changes, so that's version control, and retention and disposal. So you do need to have some sort of record keeping plan. It's a requirement of the standard around record keeping and document control. So in terms of the operational side, this is actually doing part. So you need to plan, implement, control and maintain the processes needed to meet the requirements of the OHS system. You need to eliminate hazards, reduce risks, and control procurement of goods and services to ensure safety and health conformity as well. So, if you're purchasing PPE, for example, that the equipment complies with relevant safety standards. So, safety standards around safety boots or helmets or things like that. So you need to factor that into your procurement. And also, if you're engaging third-party contractors, that they have a proper safety management system, and that they're required to adhere to your safety requirements as well. So that's an important element in terms of your contracts with third-party suppliers, contractors, and the like. So ensure that contractors and their employees as well conform to your thing. Control outsourced functions. So even though you might be outsourcing a function, you can't outsource the compliance and management obligations around safety. You still need to control that, and therefore using things like contractor agreements and the like, and inductions for contractors, and providing them copies of your documentation will assist in that. And respond to any potential emergency situations. So develop identify the emergencies that could happen in your workplace, fire, medical emergency, flooding, and the like, and develop response plans for each of those emergency situations. And where you can make temporary or permanent changes, the system needs to evolve over time to suit your organisation at any given point in time. So don't be a slave to procedures. If the procedures aren't adequately protecting you, then you review the procedures and make changes in the workplace. And so you do that in response to changes in the workplace, any changes to compliance obligations. So in WA, we've got a new Workplace Health and Safety Act, so there needs to be some reviews of safety systems in relation to that. Any new developments in knowledge and technology, and having an understanding of that, amending your policies and procedures, and then taking action to mitigate the effects of that. So the standard requires you to have certain documentation. You need a policy. You need a procedure manual that outlines all the safety procedures that you have. So, working at heights, working alone, working from home, hazard identification, using vehicles, anything that you think is part of the risk assessment that you've done that you think may involve a safety risk, then you need to have a procedure to mitigate that risk occurring. So safe work procedures, you need procedures around record keeping and document control, procurement, contract management, your emergency response plan, looking at internal audits. So you need to do regular auditing of your system to make sure that it's being adequately implemented. You need to have procedures around continuous improvement. Calibration of equipment is important. If there are aspects of your business that uses equipment that requires calibration, you need to ensure that the equipment is calibrated correctly and giving correct measurements. You also need to put in place procedures around managing non-conformity. So a non-conformance is basically where things are happening contrary to the procedures. So the procedures need to conform to the requirements of the standard, and your employees need to conform to the requirements of the procedures. And if there's evidence of that, then it's called evidence of that not occurring. That's called a non-conformance, and you need to put in place corrective action to make sure that it becomes conforming, preventive action to make sure that that non-conformance doesn't happen again. And then preventive action could be things like training or purchasing PPE or some other method. And then you need, as manager or the owner of the business or the manager of the business, you need to constantly review the performance of the system, review any incidents reports and the like, and make changes to the system as appropriate. So, and that's, management review is, you're monitoring, measuring, analysing, evaluating the success of the implementation of the system, but it's also evaluating the extent to which your compliance obligations have been met. So are you complying with the law? Are you complying with your contractual requirements? And then conduct internal audits at plan intervals. So as part of the performance evaluation, you need to review the operation of the system and make sure things are happening the way they're supposed to. You need to review the system to ensure its continuous suitability, adequately and effectiveness. So as I said, don't be a slave to procedures. They need to grow and evolve over time with your business to ensure that a safe work environment, but also the fulfillment of your compliance obligations. And you need to communicate the outcome of any reviews to workers and interested parties. So again, keep that worker participation and consultation, which is an important element of this. So keep them in the loop as to what's happening with that. Consult with them on any changes to procedures or any new things that you want to implement, and have their buy-in to the system. It's not this compliance thing sitting over on the bookcase, this manual that you've got to comply with. It is actually the way that you do business. Continuous improvement. So an important element of it, as your organisation grows and changes, you need to improve the system to meet the organisation's needs at any given point in time. So looking at enhancing performance, promoting an OHS culture, promoting worker participation and consultation, and communicating the results. So, so improvement is a big feature of the standard. Over the life of, if you've got certification, a 3-year license, every time you have an annual audit, the auditor is going to look for examples of where you've improved the system from the year before. So as part of your monitoring and improvement processes, if you do identify non-conformities, you need to react to it. Don't just let it fester. Evaluate why there was a non-conformance, look at your risks and the like, and to see if it's covered within the risk register. You need to determine and implement what corrective action you're going to apply, and then look at the effectiveness of that undertaken. And then if required, need to make changes to the OHS management system, and then document those changes and document the decision making around why those changes were made. Again, the auditor is going to look for evidence of changes in the system, but also look for the process that led to that change and why it happened. So that's the safety management system. It's just a short presentation to give you an idea as to that new standard that's come in. So I think in summary then, I think, a successful system will have top management commitment. It'll have commitment from all levels and functions of the organisation. It'll be adequately communicated, and there'll be sufficient consultation with workers. The policies and procedures in place will identify hazard risks and opportunities. You'll allocate resources to ensure adequate implementation. It'll be integrated with other business processes, and you'll have in place mechanisms to continually monitor and measure the performance, and tools, templates and forms to help with implementation. It'll lead, I think, to a safe and healthy workplace, fulfilment of your compliance obligations and business growth. As I said, a lot of tenders are now asking questions around your management system. Others, prospective clients are asking these sorts of questions. So if you can demonstrate you've got a robust safety health system in place, that will stand you in good stead for business growth. The other thing that we talk about too is safety and health. So we need to focus on the health of the business and the health of workers. So some measures that you might put in place there that ensure the health of your workplace, things like annual flu needle injections, good hearing tests if you're working in noisy environments. If you've got an office complex, maybe end of trip facilities, showers and bike racks if staff want to walk or ride their bike to work and have a shower. Those types of things are considered health surveillance measures. So promotion of healthy eating and all that sort of stuff in the workplace. So be mindful of maintaining good health of your workplace and your workers as well. So that's my presentation. If you want to have a chat to me about implementing a safety and health management system in your organisation, I do help organisations do that. So I can write all the policies and procedures and all the templates and forms and that for you, and help you get ISO certification as well. So contact me if you'd like to go down that path. And as I said, take advantage of any other Business Station services that you have. I do have another webinar tomorrow morning on asset management. So so thanks for participation. I will send you a copy of this presentation a bit later on, and a copy of the recording will be available in the next few days. So thank you for that, and good luck, and I hope you continue to work on your safety systems and ensure a safe working environment for yourself and your employees. Thank you, and goodbye.